talk it and you can walk it. Too many people talk, but don't walk. I want my life to be an example. Okay. And these are what I believe in, and this is how I roll. Okay. And you know what? I mean, you've now known me for what, 11 years now.
Yeah.
Am I any different today than I was 11 years ago?
No.
I'm not. No, this is who I am. This is what I believe. And I think the job as a sports performance coach, I mean, yeah, we're the Parisi Speed School. We're to make your kids faster. Okay. It's all the intangibles that we truly do.
Chad Coy.
Yes, sir.
Man, the myth, the legend. We start every podcast with this.
Okay.
Who are you? What do you do? And where do you do it?
Okay. Who am I?
Who are you?
Chad Coy. What do I do? I'm the director of business development for the Parisi Speed School, and I was a former program director, and I was the 13th franchise owner. So I've done about every job in the network. And where do I do it now? I live in Detroit, Michigan, and I work from home. That's kind of nice.
We left a lot out there.
Okay.
You want to fill in the blanks before I do?
Ask me more questions then. I mean, that was kind of, I just short and sweet to the point.
How did you get into sports performance coaching?
Long story, short story.
Because this is a video podcast, so people are going to look at your side of the table. They're going to look at my side of the table.
Uh-huh.
They're going to notice a stout difference, maybe in the size of our necks.
Yeah.
Maybe in...
Well, just because you're a pencil nigga, it's your problem, not mine. Yeah. I started training in 1980. To go all the way back, there was a lot of trauma in my youth, and I was labeled learning disabled in first grade. So I got to go to special classes, and kids were not that nice in the 70s, so I had special names, and so I got to hear a lot of that.
So then you grew.
So, well, I learned I couldn't read in public. I couldn't speak, believe it or not, I couldn't speak in public.
That's wild.
So it's really wild. So I couldn't speak in public. So they sent me to special classes to learn how to speak because I had a stutter. And then I learned, I started working. That was first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. And I remember in fourth grade, you were allowed to go to what was called the bookmobile. So we had a bookmobile come out, and I wanted to read. And the very first book I read, and honestly, it's Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan of the Apes, which just kind of stuck me with like fantasy, big muscular dudes. It's like, and then I saw in 1980. I don't know why, but my mom took me to see Conan the Barbarian, and I saw that. I was like, I've been reading fantasy and Robert E. Howard and Edgar Rice Burroughs and all these fantasy writers. I was like, it kind of called to me, and not just my thirst for knowledge. So then I went to the gym. I told my mom I want to go to the gym. So when I turned 12, she took me to a Nautilus center. And in Nautilus, you train one movement, one set to failure, 13 movements. You come 3 days a week. Yeah. So I would go to the gym 3 days a week. Really, I'd try to sneak in 2 days. Oh yeah, you've already came. You can't come again. So I did that, and it just made me feel good. And that just kind of blossomed. And then I started reading books, not the good ones. I mean, I got the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding by Arnold Schwarzenegger, probably the worst book I could have ever written as an athlete.
Is it?
Oh God, it's horrible. It's horrible. You're not athletes and bodybuilders, two different things. Okay,
but this is a very pro Arnold. It's a plot. We're pro Arnold.
I'm not saying Arnold's wrong. I'm not saying anything against him. He inspired a lot of people to train, but I trained like a bodybuilder, not like an athlete. And I didn't know, how do you run? So I'd go run miles to get faster. Running miles does not make you faster. It actually makes you slower. Okay, getting stronger makes you somewhat faster, having better technique, but no one's teaching that. So that kind of blossomed, and when I was 15, well, you can't see it, but I had a little accident here.
Yeah,
so I lost the scars.
Yep, there's the scars.
And then I was really into weight training, but like I wanted to have my own gym because I didn't want to go to the gym. Sometimes it got hard. Like I would get my butt to the gym, but there was a lot of obstacles, and I wasn't going to have an obstacle. If I had a gym at home, there's no obstacles. I can walk down the basement, or I can walk. We had a convenience store, and we put it in the convenience store. So I bought my first gym when I was 15, and it was I had saved all my money. It was $3,000 back in the 80s. It was a lot of freaking money.
That's a lot of money.
So I had like 6,000. Yeah, I had 6,000 pounds worth of weights. I had a squat rack, a leg press, incline, decline, upside down. Just curls, dumbbells, everything I could imagine. And I just started training. And to gain more knowledge, I went to there was a YMCA, so I got a gym with a membership of the YMCA. Plus, they had the home gym, And our football program was horrible. We were doing bad stuff. Nothing against them. Dan, I love you. You just didn't know. Okay. So we learned that, and I was a pretty good athlete. And then, when I graduated, I was the first person in our family to go to college. So I went to Purdue University.
Astronaut.
Not an astronaut.
Why not?
Because I'm not smart. Math. I'm stuck at math.
Purdue, home of the most astronauts. Fun fact.
Help me with that. Where Purdue University, where you're more likely to go to the moon than the Final Four.
Yep.
Facts.
That's wild.
No,
Wild
a couple times.
Wild statement.
That second last year, I guess. I mean, if your first cousin's kind of hot, it's still your first cousin. You know what I mean? Second place, I kind of look at.
Keep the story going. Keep the story going.
Second place, first loser.
Not the cousin. Keep going.
So I went. I went to Purdue. My high school girlfriend's parents, you should go to be a lawyer because she liked to argue. So I went pre-law. I was pre-law for like a semester.
I'm learning so much.
Like, dude, I hate this.
I'm learning so much right now.
I go, I want to help athletes. I want to be a better athlete. So I switched my major to actually it's movement and sports science and dietetics. So I want to learn about nutrition and training. So I switched all my gear towards that, just going after that. At the time, I wanted to still play football. I skipped the opportunities to play at small schools because, in my infinite wisdom at 18 and no one in my family going to college was like, I'm not going to go to a D3 school or D2 school because that's too low. It's like, it's like going to high school again. I should have played football. Kids out there, if you've got the opportunity to play at any level, play at any level. Don't worry about D1. It doesn't matter. Okay. I ended up walking on. When I walked on, basically Chester Cass, who was the recruiting coordinator at the time, he's like, dude, unless you're Lawrence Taylor, you're probably never going to see the field because I only had 2 semesters left. And he goes, why are you doing it? I want to be a strength and conditioning coach, I think. He goes, really? He goes, let me call. So he called my future boss, Steve Little, which we called Big. Go figure.
Yeah.
He actually played at Iowa and then coached, I think in Maryland, and then he came to Purdue. So I took that job or took that opportunity to be an undergraduate assistant and volunteer my time. I was in the gym. I was working 2 jobs, going to school, and giving 20 hours a week to the football.
Still playing football at that.
Well, I walked on.
But you were still on the team going to practice.
Well, here's the deal. Walking on and being on a team and playing are way different things.
You were required to show up to practice.
So here's the deal, dude. I'd used that opportunity to get into coaching, and then I spent the next 18 months coaching, and I didn't get the assistantship to stay on to get my master's. I'd taken a bunch of classes and stuff. So I decided, well, you know what? I got kicked out in the real world, took a job, and that job was servicing health clubs and gyms. And Kim, who was my first wife, we're both meatheads. We want to own our own gym. So that's kind of how that happened. I started working in gyms and helping gym owners and doing supplements and seeing people do this. And we wrote a business plan in 1995 and opened Powerhouse Gym in 1994, opened Powerhouse Gym in 1995. When kids would come through the door, I wanted to help kids live that dream.
Yeah.
And my coaches they didn't know. And now I've armed myself. I've got education, all the certifications and stuff, doing your CSCS, doing your NASM, I get a cert every year, at least one every year since 1990. So that's like what? That's like 35 certs.
Other than that, yeah.
But I do that just to make myself better. And then what ended up happening, we'd open the gym and then kids would come in and I just find a way to train these kids and give them what they want. And then as my daughter got older, I just saw the disparity in how kids were getting trained. And, coaches, parent coaches do it for the right reason. They want help. That's what you think. Most of the time, it's they want their kid to have the prime position. And I looked at it, if you don't, my kids hate me on this, but it's like if you keep what you kill, and if you didn't earn it, you don't get it. I'm not going to help you do it. I refuse to do it. I'm not going to be there. You're going to have to advocate for yourself. So when I saw my daughters, the lack of training, the lack of what they were getting, that's why I got into Parisi. And I'd been going to Thomas Plummer since 1995 was my consultant. And I talked to him I feel like I could write this and do it. He's like, you don't have to. It's already been done. And so I saw Bill, and I saw Bill talking to Perform Better. Or was it Thomas Plummer Perform Better? I think it wasn't called Perform Better back then. It's still Thomas Plummer. Now it's Thomas Plummer's with Perform Better. Saw it, looked at it, talked to John Cirillo, went through about a 9-month vetting process to look at Parisi, ask a lot of questions. At the time, I actually looked at for pure acceleration and velocity. They were there. Solo and Parisi kind of hit it off with Bill and John, and we executed. We started that in 2005, executed the deal in 2006, and then we opened in January 2007. So that's how I became a Parisi coach.
That is the story. See, that's who granted, I left it pretty open ended.
Yeah.
Who you do, what you do, where you do it, but that's the story.
That's
Love that. And because I had two things written down. I don't actually have. People are going to realize really quickly when they watch or listen to this podcast. Maybe I guess watch. I have notes in front of me for certain people. I have no notes in front of me for certain people. You are a no notes guest. I don't need notes to guide this conversation, but I had two things written down.
What's that?
I'm going to let you guide which one we do. We're doing both, but I'm going to let you guide which one we do first. The first thing was consistency. The second one was core values. Which one do you want to talk on first? Because I have follow-up questions for both, but core values and consistency. Which one?
Well, let's go core values. Okay. So, I mean, there's a lot of core values out there. And I think the ones that I've tried to live by, which I call them our 4 pillars, and that's respect, coachability, work ethic, and effort. And that's what each athlete controls of their own. You kind of control your destiny. So you look, what's respect? Very simple, man. I came through the martial arts when I was a kid, and it's yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, please, may I, and thank you. If the sentence doesn't start with that, I don't hear you. Okay. Along that same lines, and this is not part of those, but kind of intertwined there. It's Coach Coy, it's Coach Chad, Coach. You do not have the right to use my first name. You don't pay. You live in your parents' house. You don't pay taxes. When you graduate and you out on your own and you're paying your own bills, now you're an adult. You can use my first name. I laugh about that because I still have most of my people still call me Coach. But it's been a rule. It's funny because I have a kid, and it's like his name's Jeff Stout. Hey Jeff, I love the kid. I knew his parents. In high school, he called me Chat. I just wouldn't listen to me. And if hey Coach Coy, I said, yeah, what's up? He goes, man, I've said your name 5 times. I said, you know my rule. And what's funny now in high school, he was just in high school when we were kids. You're kind of a jerk. Sorry, Jeff, you were kind of a jerk. Later now, man, he calls me Coach. And the crazy thing is like I introduced him to, he met his wife in Parisi. They were 3 years apart, went to college, married in college. They sent me a wedding invitation. And it was basically, here's the definition of acceleration, top speed. And don't worry, our children will decelerate properly upon birth. That was pretty cool. And, he's just a great kid. I just love all those connections, but it just becomes one that, so you look at respect, next coachability. And coachability to me is simple. It's just the ability to listen. So I always say this, guys, when you ask your dad, when you don't listen to mom, what happens? Bad things. Okay. When you don't listen to your teacher, what happens? Bad things. When you get pulled over by the police and they talk to you and you don't listen, what happens? Bad things. So the ability to listen will prevent 90% of your problems in life. Then I come to work ethic. And for me, work ethic is simple. Be the first one and be the last one out. Do so much work that people have to notice you. Okay. And lastly, for me, it's effort. I mean, I'm a huge effort guy. And here's the thing. Coaches will say, give me 120%. That's bullshit. I'm just going to call it. That's bullshit. Okay. Give me everything you have. Okay. I don't know where you're at today. At the end of a workout and you got 40% left, what do I want? I want all of it. Okay. If I put you on the field and I know you're going to give me 100% of what you got, good things are going to happen. Okay. If you're not that talented, well, I can fix that. Or maybe you're not playing, but how can you contribute? But if everyone learns that, now I look at those 4 things to me gets what's called favor. So in life, you're going to need favor. You're going to need favor. You got a job. Hey, 2 guys are up for a job. Everything's equal. The person that has the favor, but if they live these 4 pillars, they're going to have favor. But if I have a kid who's lazy, but everything's equal, I'm going to take the kid who works hard over the kid who's lazy. Okay, so you look at it, I want you to work for favor in life. And you're going to go places in life because of favor. Now you look, who am I hiring? I hire athletes. Why do I hire athletes as employees? Because they already understand all these 4 attributes. Okay, but now we look at those 4 attributes. That's the backbone of what you are. It doesn't matter about sports. It really doesn't. If you're respectful, your coach will have work ethic and effort, you'll always have a job and you'll always have favor. You drop one of those and some bad things are going to happen. If you act like a jerk, you act like an idiot, you're not respectful. I got to make a cut. Who's getting fired? Who's getting the job? So I always talk to the kids about that. I think that's the most important thing is these pillars. And now to your secondary question, how do you do that consistently? Just every single day you live that. Okay, every single day. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Please, ma'am. Thank you. Be polite. Be kind. That goes a long way. I mean, being coachable. If you're someone's talking to you, pay attention. Like kids are out rolling their eyes, looking around. It's like, no, eyes on coach. Eyes on coach. Pay attention. Okay. And work ethic. I always say this: be the first one in. Sit in the front row. Okay. When the volunteer needs, you're the first one to volunteer. What happens? People notice that stuff. And when you give 100% effort wherever you're at, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. As I was always told, you do this. If I'm going to drink this drink, man, I'm going to drink it right. Right. If I'm going to do a job, I'm going to do it 100% of my to my ability. If you get kids that they're fives on a scale of 10, I can handle a kid that's a 5 on a scale of 10. Give me everything he's got. But if you got a 9 on a scale of 10, but he only gives me a 5 effort, that drives me nuts. Okay? Because they're leaving so much on the table. When you teach kids to do that consistently, what's going to happen? They're going to have favor and they're going to become doctors and lawyers and business people. Maybe they'll become a Parisi coach. Maybe they'll become a professional athlete. All things are cool, but if you don't live those 4 pillars consistently, you'll never end up where you want to be.
So I don't know if I've ever told you this. So for the background for the people watching, listening, I met Chad in 2000 and I think it was 14. Right, we were both going on as sandwiches in Orlando. We were then afterwards in Jersey.
Yeah.
When
we both became
they put Chad and I in a hotel room in New Jersey, and he said, "You guys are going to be our new certification coaches. You got to go through certification and help and assist." And I'm like, I've just obviously have come across like we've brushed paths a little bit prior to, but the reason I wanted to bring up consistency and core values with you is because I was a total meathead 24-year-old. I had no idea what I was doing, right? I had no idea what I was doing. This is where I think that I got very lucky being around people who've just done it. Like that's right. Consistency. I was just talking with Eric Mitchell about just like longevity in the career is amazing in sports performance and personal training in the fitness industry. Longevity is scarce. But not only did you have core, I believe you had them in your wallet.
Yeah.
You had the card in your wallet and you pulled it out and you're like, no, because this is important to me. And I remember just looking at you being like, oh man, Casey, you are just in a whole different league right now. Because 24, I had some career success early on. I was like, all right, look at me. And I'm from Vermont, like small state, big fish, small state, whatever. And it's always stood out to me. Like one, if it's important to you, you'll do it. Right. You'll find time, you'll make it important, you'll do it. But actually living up to it. So like you hold your athletes to these standards, these values, but it's because you do it yourself.
If you don't, here's the thing, I always say this. You so many people talk the talk.
Yeah, but then they walk it. That's what I'm talking about.
If you talk it and you can walk it. Too many people talk, but don't walk. I want my life to be an example. Okay. And these are what I believe in, and this is how I roll. Okay. And you know what? You've now known me for 11 years now.
Yeah.
Am I any different today than I was 11 years ago?
No.
I'm not. No, this is who I am. This is what I believe. And I think the job as a sports performance coach, we're the Parisi Speed School. We're to make your kid faster. Okay. It's all the intangibles that we truly do. I want to teach you to be a good human being. I could really care. Honestly, in the grand scheme of things, I don't give a shit if you become a successful athlete. It's my job. I'm going to make that happen. But you know what? If I get a kid that's like, yes, sir, no, sir, and like I get reports back, like they're so respectful and they need something done, they do it. That makes me happy. Okay. They go for a job and like, I want to hire this guy because he's a go-getter. Or when teachers call and say, you know what, you told your kid they couldn't come to Parisi if they didn't get their grades. I go, yeah, because you're a student athlete. Number one came first, student. If you're not getting your grades, don't you come to training. And I've sent kids home and they get mad. No, you got, mom said you got a C. And dude, you're capable of an A. You're not training right. You can't tell me I'm the program director, bro. I can tell you whatever. You're going to go home and you're going to study. And you know what? When you do that, you set a standard. And here's the thing. I think this is the one thing. If we set a standard and we expect kids to do it, what will they do? They'll do it.
They'll do it.
They'll be successful.
Yep.
And I want to look at, I look at so many people in this network that were my former coaches or athletes and how successful they are. And it just becomes live these pillars consistently and you're going to be great. And if you're chasing greatness, You want to make a difference in the world? You want to leave an impact? Do the right things all the time. It's not that hard. It sometimes, I mean, just be consistent.
So if you're a coach, you're watching, you're listening, you're going, wow, like that all sounds great. How do I get started? Like, how for you, how did you come up with your core values that you're like, these actually, and it takes time. Like I'm not gonna say what your core values, what you write down today, first draft, might not be.
No,
It's gonna evolve. Yeah, it's gonna evolve. Wow, I think that's an important caveat to structure around this. But for you, how did it come about? Like, because obviously it's part of you come from a coaching tree, coaching philosophy, right? Small, smalls or bigs. Sorry, bigs. Being someone who you've spent time around. Sure, you don't want to brush.
I will say, I'll give it
Who we shouting out?
my mom and dad.
Oh,
Yeah. I need a drink.
take a cheer.
I mean, my mom passed. My mom passed like 9 years ago, and she was a tough woman. She was the only female tool and die maker in General Motors in 1964. So you got to think a woman and an old man. So pretty rough. She's pretty rough. Um, but it was like you start something, you finish it. You do your best. I got to see my parents' work ethic. So I mean, I'm a workaholic, guys. I'm just gonna admit it. I know it. I'm a workaholic.
Well,
I will literally work.
The hotel room was left on. The light was left on in our hotel room last night.
Yeah, because I was still.
The living room was left. I get up to go. I'm like, the light is on in there. Like what? I'm like, that's
I totally spit.
a long night. That's a long night.
But it just becomes work ethic, and you know what? My mom and dad like, if you start something, you finish it. And so I learned a lot about work ethic and effort. I will say this: I had a great sensei when I was a kid, Sensei Buffet. So respect. That's where I learned that portion of it. Coachability. I laugh. Mark Hollingsworth was one of my coaches in high school, and it was always listen to what I'm saying, not how I'm saying it. So he might have been that Bobby Knight kind of coach. There was a lot of four-letter explicitives, but it's like listen to what I'm saying, not exactly what I'm saying. If you dig what I'm saying, so listen. So here's the message, bookend by a lot of cuss words. So I wanted to fix that. I want to become listening. Listening became paramount. Most of your problems come from not listening. So I want to listen. That work ethic, yeah, I see it from my parents. I mean, my parents owned a business. You see it. They went to work, worked a 40-hour job, and owned a business. So it was work ethic. Work ethic. If you want to be successful, just outwork people. I mean, here's the thing. As an athlete, I wasn't that. I'll be honest with you. I was not that good. I watched a hell of a lot of film in high school, and then when I played football post high school, post college, and I played 8 years of semi-pro, I was great. You were great. I said, no, what made me great is I watched 100 hours of I mean, I literally watched, not 100 hours, obviously, 10 hours of film for our opponent. I remember playing a team that I played for the Lafayette Generals after I graduated. And that was in West Lafayette, Purdue country. Played the Kokomo Mustangs. And I remember one year we're playing, it's like the second year, maybe the third year we're playing. And like, I would call out the play before the play came. And the owner of that team was James Stamper. He was also one of their linemen. He goes, dude, how the hell do you know what play we're running? I said, I've watched so much film to know when this happens or this happens or this happens. So I've always just taught that to all my kids. Watch film. Be a film watcher. Okay. Watching film and understanding what the other team's going to do made me so much better because it wasn't that good. It wasn't that good of an athlete. Transfer that into strongman. I wasn't that good of a strongman. Okay. I had a lot of success. But what I do, I listened, I learned, I applied everything. And then what did I do? I went back and watched a lot of film. Like, why are you watching film on someone else? I go, see how they do it. So you learn techniques. And then that's honed me as a better coach for that sport, but then for any sport. So it's like, if you want to be good, go that extra mile. Okay. So then lastly, effort. I remember the first football camp I went to, they gave away, it was Indiana State University. So they gave away, if you were busting your butts, like Mr. Hustle. So Mr. Hustle, the Bulldog, like so many different names that coaches have given me.
Mr. Hustle?
Of course, yeah.
I love it.
My high school coach called me like, I remember I was all whatever conference, all state, all area, whatever the hell it was. It's like, what do you say about Chad? He goes, whether it's the first quarter, the fourth quarter, you're up 50 points or down 50 points, that dude brings it every play. And that's what I was always taught. Bring it every chance you get. And I always say this: play the game like this is the last game I ever play.
This might be.
And I played my last game in 1998 in Germany, and it was probably the best football game I ever played in my life because I knew it was my last one. And I always played with reckless abandon. On that game, I was just like on fire, just going, just because I know I'm done.
Yeah.
I know after this game I'm not playing again. Now I did suit up once or twice more after that for diddles, but that was the last real football game I played, and then I went into strongman, and that's been the last 27 years.
We'll touch on that here in a minute. Can I pivot a minute?
You bet.
Consistency. You did something this morning. Do you know when we were training? For those, little backstory, anytime we come to a Parisi event, we're filming in Arizona right now at the Parisi Summit. Chad and I, it's not a summit without going somewhere to train at the crack of dawn, early with
Pre-dawn.
Chad Coy.
Pre-dawn.
Pre-dawn. You're there when the doors unlock at the gym. And what you did this morning. You pulled the notebook out. How many training notebooks do you have? Approximately. I'm sure you have a box somewhere.
Here's the thing: I can't tell you that because I actually threw away. When my mom died and we cleaned her house out, and she kept everything. I gone through the divorce, and she had a bunch of my stuff. And then when we were cleaning her house out, we were gonna have to move. And like I've got all these boxes. It's like I have a box literally of probably 100 notebooks because I've recorded I've recorded every workout since 1980 when I started training. November 2nd, 1980.
You had a notebook every session I've been with you. You've had a note.
So I write it down. And I always say this. I mean, Tommy Kono. I mean, most people don't know who Tommy Kono is. He's an Olympic gold medalist in weightlifting for the United States. And he said, and I read this early on. It's like, the faintest of pen is better than the sharpest of memories. So I've always written everything down because there's knowledge there. You can learn from it. So I write every workout down. I put notes in every workout. How do I feel? What's going on? And since 1980, and this is no kill, since 1980, I've missed 24 workouts.
That was going to be a question.
So I want you to think. So since 1980,
I was going to ask you how many you've missed because I know you know that number.
24 workouts. But I've missed 24 workouts since 1980. So that's like 45. It would be 45 years this November. So I'll probably miss a few between them. But like you plan them, you do them. Now, if you're working, you got to work, you plan it around. So, we're going to be here. We had to be down here at 8 o'clock. We got to the gym at 5 o'clock. We trained. We got a workout out. Okay. Was it great?
It was great.
That felt great. Because I got a workout.
I loved everything about it. I didn't do as many sets as you, but I loved everything about it.
The thing is, like, you're just getting in and getting it done.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that's the biggest thing. Consistency. Like, what's the old saying? You have 20% of your workouts are great, 20% suck, and 60% are in the middle.
But you made a plan and you stuck with it.
Where's success at? Success is consistently doing what you're supposed to do. Okay. And what's that take? Grit. Some people will call it grit, willpower, discipline. I just discipline myself to show up. Okay. I discipline myself to eat. I discipline myself to try to get to sleep. I discipline myself to do everything to put myself in an opportunity to be successful. Whether that's in my training or that's in your business. That's the same thing in your business. I mean, your business, you have to manage your business. And it's all about being consistent and looking at those same principles and just doing that day in and day out. Here's the thing. Everyone wants something sexy. They want the newest drill. Right? Guys, I will say this. I was always taught the team that blocks and tackles the best on a football field probably is going to win. All the trick plays are trick plays. Do the basics brutally well. I want to be a freaking savage with the basics. So you get in a weight, you warm up. You do an active dynamic warm up. You do your mobility work. Okay. You train for rate of force production. You train to be stronger, whatever your sport requires. And then you condition. Okay. Then you follow it up with good nutrition consistently. Like I've already had 3 meals today. I mean, 3 meals and it's what? I'm noob. Okay. I got 3 more meals. I'll eat all my meals. Okay. Be consistent. And I think that's the biggest thing is consistency in whatever you're doing. It's hard to not be successful if you're consistent.
Well, you said this morning, we were getting on the elevator. It sparked why another reason I wanted to bring up consistency talking with you is it's just like some people training, right? Specifically the training. And I think this is really important for athletes. This is really important for coaches because whether it's in training or your business, you said it's something that I do. Vacation, work, regular day, not a regular week, whatever it might be. It's something you do. And it's something that is important to you, so you make the time to do it.
Right.
And you're not gonna love every day of it, and there's times you have to adjust because of the time frame, whatever it might be, but you said it's just something that I do now, and I just think that's a very profound
It's kind of like this. Do you brush your teeth every day?
every day.
Why?
Something that I do,
Something you do.
something
Okay.
that I do.
Do you pray every day? Okay.
No,
Probably should. Probably should. Do you speak to your wife every day?
I do
Do you love on your children every day?
every day.
Okay. Well, if you don't love on your children every day, or do they still know that you love them?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's just a text when your kids are not old.
They're a little
Text,
young, but
but a text, or now we got Instagram. I forward my kids crap all the time. It's always like, like dad loves you. It was goofy shit, but it's like I just want them to know, you know, and whatever you do, if it's worth doing, you do it all the time. Okay, I mean, you do. I mean, do you eat properly? You know,
something that you do.
yeah. And if you're not in a position to eat properly, eat what you have to do, and then get back on the stick. And it's just, again, consistency. Yeah, I think that's the number one thing for anything in life is being consistent. So, right, going to the gym and training, regardless where. I mean, how many times have we warmed up in a parking lot before the gym opened? Because this is important. Did it change the fact that we went out here and coached all day? Not at all. It's just something I have to get done. But champions are made in those hours. Like everyone wants to be a champion. Everyone wants to have the accolades. Everyone wants to have the trophy, but they don't want to put the work in for it. The work has to happen before the success.
Yeah.
It just has to.
Yeah. I have one final question.
Let's hear it.
Who's the strongest person in your phone?
Contacts. Currently in strongman.
You can go either way you want. Who was the strongest? Who did the strongest?
Okay.
Give it to me, because this, for those that don't know, Chad has an extensive background. I don't know what
In strength sports.
in strength sports, but strongman specifically. You have some
Okay.
crazy pictures with crazy strong.
Here's the thing. I'm going to give you kind of a myriad. Ed Cohn,
Yeah.
world's greatest power.
Yeah.
Greatest power ever walked planet. It's funny, and we're friends. We've been friends for a long time. I've learned a lot from the guy. So Ed Cohn, as far as powerlifting, in my phone, Brian Shaw, 4 times world's strongest man. One of my current athletes is Trey Mitchell. It holds the world record in raw deadlift at 1037. Okay, Mitchell Hooper's in my phone. There's a lot of guys in my phone. Mitchell Hooper's
But if they're in your phone,
he just won the Arnold's. Last year he won Rogue. He won the Rogue. He won the Shaw. He lost to Tom Stoltman at World Strongest Man, but then he won the Rogue before that. So he's probably one of the greater, and he's incredibly intelligent. I think the thing is, like, you look at Brian and you look at Hooper. Both of them have masters degrees in exercise science. They're very cerebral, very smart people. Okay, so strong, and they're also good business people. They've taken all the same attributes we just talked about from their athletic career into the businesses. So look at their businesses; they're wildly successful. So those, yeah, that's probably it's pretty cool people.
I love it. You roll with the strong people. I mean, it's a product of your environment, man. Like you're not strong people, you're going to become strong. But I've made you drop a fish in a big tank, it's going to grow.
You have a tendency to do that. I look at in that sport, I was really blessed. I took everything I had to the highest level. And I will say this: what made me good was I traveled a lot and went and learned from people. So Yoko Holo, Magnus Magnuson, Sven Carlson, guys have all won World's Strongest Man title. I've trained with all those. Phil Pfister, Brian Neese. The list goes on and on and on. I've been training around people for a long time, and just if you want to be good at something, you find the best people. So like coming to this sport or coming to this positions, I like to listen to great coaches. And I mean, I'm really blessed. I mean, Joe Ken is my coach. Joe, thank you. Big house. He's a great guy. I've learned a lot from him. Clint Darden is one of my coaches. Great. Did my program for years. Great guy. Learned a lot from him. I mean, I spend money on other people's education. Why? Because I want to see how they do it. And if I spend $5,000 a year on education and I learn 5 things, it's totally worth it.
I had to end on that because you always the class, you're like, who's like the most famous person in your phone? Well, in the strength sports, like who's the strongest, who's the baddest NFer in there? Do you have the wall on your phone? Was Bajor was
Hopthor?
the
Hopthor Bjornsson from Game of Thrones?
yeah.
I've got a picture with him and Trey from the Honor's Edition. Yeah. Not as a cell phone. Not a cell phone.
No, didn't know.
Not a cell phone.
Didn't know.
JF Carone from Canada had owned the deadlift record for a long time. He's in my, again, these people, you compete with them, you become friends.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, I don't have Magnus for Magnus's cell phone, but I message him. It's like those guys. You get to know them. You compete with them for years. You have fun. I mean, Ode. I mean, what the strongest grip on the planet? Ode Haugen, who's here at the summit, the Vice Trip Viking. He's 75 years old, and he can crush everyone's. No one here in this building can even close to his grip strength at 75. So you hang out with cool people. I mean, and they're successful. You look at Ode, man. The guy's a serial entrepreneur. He's owned like business upon business upon business. He's just a great example of what you can do. I love it. Last one. I'll just tell you this one.
Yeah, I want it.
He won Mr. Norway in 1970. Mr. Norway, 1970, 6'4", 240. In 1970, that's a huge human being. He goes to the University of Maryland. He's walking on campus, and the football coach says, "Hey, have you ever played football?" He says, "Yes, I played football." He played soccer. Okay. He comes up, they show him football. He learns how to play football. He's never played a down of football.
Yeah,
You're 6'4", 240 in 1970.
figure it out.
4 years later, he gets drafted by the Washington Redskins. Okay. After his college. He then does a year with the Redskins, does a year in San Francisco, and then goes back to like Berkeley to get his MBA. So that's like 1976. Oh, at one point he owned all of the Gold's Gyms in Hawaii. Sold them to 24 Hour Fitness. Went to work for 24 Hour Fitness. If you remember Gold's Gym Nutritionalysis, which was Neil Spruce, Ode and Neil, after he had sold the company, they did another company called Dot Fit.
Okay.
And then they sold Dot Fit to 24 Hour Fitness. I mean, this guy's done it all.
Yeah. It's a history lesson.
It's just, I think if you look at the cool people in this industry who have done stuff, what's it then? They consistently do the work.
There's no better person to have a conversation with about core values, consistency. It's just, I think, two things that get lost, right? What's the new thing that I can do? What's the training program that I need? It's like, let's boil it down. Let's find what you believe in. Let's figure out how we can be consistent in the things that we need to be consistent in. And 40 years later, here we are. You're still in the industry. You're living life, having a great time.
Well, I think what ends up happening for most people, the reason they get out is they're not successful. Because they want it. They don't want to pay the price to be successful. What they want is they want it to be easy. Okay, success and easy don't come together. They're not. Win the lottery. That's all I can say. Win the lottery. Okay, but if you want to be successful at anything, you got to put the time in it, become brutally good at it, and be consistent. And you do that over 10, 20 years. I mean, I'm a master coach. If it takes 10,000 hours to become a master of anything, okay, and you're 24 years, you're whatever, 24 years old. I bet people, I'm a master coach. Like, dude, you just got certified 3 years ago, and you haven't put enough time in. You're not a master coach yet. You will be in time, but how many people will put the time in that? So that's why find something you love. I mean, guys, just honestly, I wear pajamas every day. Okay. I get to train kids and adults and help people. It's so freaking cool. There's no better job in the world. I couldn't imagine doing anything different.
It's the best. That's it.
A good place to
That's what we're in. I appreciate you, man.